Here we go. Okay. Well, I don't know if this thing is double speaking. Oh, I didn't go live over there yet. Here we go.
All right.
I love you too. And yeah, people are, and you know what? We gave them the outtake at the beginning of the last one. So y'all
Hey.
just got the outtake again. Hey, we are now officially live. Yeah, okay. It's still on a delay for the screen. Oh, ooh, almost had that on mute. Okay, let's roll. Hey,
All right, let's roll.
welcome. Yeah, welcome everybody to Glue Wednesday, the original day that glue was created. Yeah. Oh man, you know what? I'm hearing God, I'm hearing echo. I'm gonna turn the sound down on the screen and just hope that the people hear it. Okay. Because I'm hearing what I say twice as I'm speaking.
Right, right. I could tell. Can
Yeah,
you hear me? You
I
can hear me,
can.
right?
Yeah.
All right.
So
Well, that's all that's important. It's
yeah,
all about me.
yeah, and actually there are two people on now. I have no idea who they are, but again,
Say hi.
this is
They
the
might be
new.
my friends.
Yeah. Okay. Well, hey, friends. Well, hey, welcome to Glue Wednesday. And for those of you, if it's this your first time tuning in, Glue is GLUE. God's love undoes everything. And what it does is it reminds us that so often people have said that Wednesday is hump day. And I say that Wednesday is the glue because hump has the connotation of the need to get over, while glue has the obvious reference of the need to keep it together. Because when you look at the weekend and the week beginning, what do we? Wednesday is the middle of a traditional 7-day week, so it keeps it together and it puts us immediately in a position of prayer. And then we can let GLUE stands for God's love undoes everything. Not that it tears it apart, but whatever has been torn apart, God's love will undo that rip and heal you. But you have to be ready to have that pace. Okay, we're doing today, you see my guest, I'll introduce her in a second, but we're doing today our GAS series. And GAS, G-A-S, the Glue Alphabet series. I got the idea from one of my little brothers, Paulie. he said, hey, Sport. Now, yeah, Paulie could call me Sport, okay, because I've known him for so long. And he said, why don't you just do a different letter of the alphabet? Then you get 26 um, episodes automatically. I said, oh man, good idea. Because now I've extended it to Monday and Friday. So now I got to come up with 3 messages a week. So this is why, I came up with, I did the alphabet series. So today we're focusing on the letter J. And our J words today are, and these were introduced, volunteered into the thread for the last session: journey, justice, jealous, which two people wrote, and judgment. And we're going to create the message today called, are you in joy or jail?
I love this, Sporty. I got to tell you, because people say, how are you? And I say, medicated and not in jail. And people go, is she serious? Doesn't matter if I'm seriousness. Did they put a smile on their face just thinking about this? I said, yeah.
Yeah.
And my middle name is Joy.
Which is why I brought you on the show.
I know.
You snuck
I
in,
know.
you know,
I
and
know.
and yeah, and you see how Deb and I work together. We do stuff so out of order. Uh, this is Deb Joy Hart, and she was with us last Friday when the letter of the day was H. And I brought her in for her heart, and look at what she got in the background there, a heart. What doing that, by the way, Deb, what I remember that made me laugh was one of the things that happened last week when you were pointing out my awards on the wall, and I got up and pointed them out. What I meant to say to you and laughter was, it's a good thing I had on pants.
Yes. And I was grateful.
Yeah, that's one of the things that we have to think about. Look, I pulled us up on my cell phone. Let's see if anybody says, oh, okay. I see hi from Roger Carroll, Etiquette D, Tezzy B, and Shirley. Good, Tony, good. Yeah, because I can look at that on the cell phone and see it. So the sound is working, y'all, because we're on a tape delay and we are absolutely not sure, but we're going to keep on rolling. All right, so anyway, so Deb's on with us today. And so Deb, I'm going to let you go first. What do you want to start out with?
Well, I want to start out with actually something I found in one of my books about joy. Is that okay if I do that? If I read it really fast?
It is. But first, I just remembered we have to do our commercial of today's message is brought to you by the letter J. And my letter J is joy, Joy, just one U. And your letter J, and now you can roll.
Well, I don't have a letter, but something that brings me joy are rainbows. And that's why, and joy is such a feeling. So there, I love your t-shirt. It's like, can I buy one?
Mm-hmm.
Where do you buy your t-shirt?
You
Do
know,
I go to your webpage?
actually, no and yes, but heavily on the no side right now, because what happens is, it's a collector's item. What happens is my sister used to give alternating years. She'd give a bus ride. We called it the Lobster Feast, and we go from New York up to, I think it was Rhode Island or Connecticut, to a casino. But we'd stop at this place called Nordic Lodge first, and then and that's where it was a 2-hour all you could eat. And then we go to the casino, and then we'd have family night and game night, and then so it was a weekend event. Every year I would create the t-shirts for the group, and so then whatever extra t-shirts I had, I'd sell them on my website. And so now my joy shirts are all gone.
Oh, I know. I have a refrigerator magnet that has joy, just one U. You had sent those to me, and I
Oh, good.
really
Yeah,
appreciate it.
because I definitely, now that's a product that's coming up, and actually one of the people in our feed, Tony, is one of the people who helped me design the puzzle piece for the word joy, because that's what I'm
Oh, I
going.
love it.
That's going to be one of my excuse me products, is showing my different puzzle pieces of the different Ac-Firmations. So anyway,
Awesome.
yes,
All right. You want me to
you're up.
read?
Go
All
ahead.
right, great. So, this original piece was written in 1939, and it talks about it's the healing power of joy. And it says the nerves surrounding the heart are most sensitive to thoughts of fear, and fear being the opposite of joy. And when mind and body are strenuously excited, the fearfully charged nerve grabs the heart and holds it like a vice. And it's talking about the opposite of joy, but earlier it was saying, what is joy? What is it? And so, I looked up the definition and all this stuff. It is a feeling. It's different than happy. It's something that having to do with your soul. And that's what I just love about the word joy. So there you go. And Joy, my middle name, I'm actually named after a great-grandfather. From his name was Jacob. So I'm a girl, so I got Joy.
Oh,
Yeah.
and now there's a good biblical reference there with Jacob. What was Jacob's joy? Jacob's
Well,
joy. Okay. Oh, good. You
no,
remember.
go ahead. Go
No, no, no.
ahead.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
So he had 2 sons. And wasn't it him? His joy was even that he had sons, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then I don't remember the rest.
Okay.
I just remember Esau and
Uh,
Cain.
Esau.
Cain. Is it Cain and Abel?
No, that was Cain and Abel. It was Esau and time's up. But anyway,
Time's up. Yeah,
But yeah,
exactly.
Esau, and oh, because it was, there were doubles, Cain and Abel. There was um, Isaac and Ishmael, were Abram's, and then Jacob had Esau and somebody else.
So
Uh,
what was Jacob's joy?
Jacob's joy was that isn't he the one? Wasn't Joseph his son, or was Joseph Abraham's son? No, Joseph was his
No,
son.
no, exactly. Uh, yes,
Yeah.
Joseph and the amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat. See, I get my Bible from all over. You know, I don't care.
Okay,
Yeah,
so we'll
Joseph
come
was
back
the dad. Yeah, whatever. I love you, and I just go.
because didn't Jacob, isn't he the one that said, "Take my bones with you"? Oh, was that Abraham? No, I'm pretty sure that was Jacob. He said,
You
"Take
know
my
what?
bones." Yes, yeah, because Jacob had the 12 sons, and mm,
It
somebody,
doesn't
Tony, you my
matter.
biblical reference person, bring that on in there if you can. All right.
Yeah,
So anyway,
there
I'll
you
look it
go.
up and put it in there. Okay, what else you got?
So, can I talk about my two words?
Sure.
All right. So, out of the words that came out, I'm going to talk about justice and judgment, or judgment and justice. And I just think the word judgment, I had to go look that up, because judgment isn't the same as discernment. See,
Mm,
judgment is, that creates polarization. That will polarize two people. It's a snap decision. It's based in your ego. So judgment, and that also relates to being jealous, right? Because being jealous is from an ego point too. But judgment is an opinion. It has to do with balance of power. And how interesting, because if you use judgment, you're going to go to jail. You are not going to go to joy. I mean, seriously, justice can bring you joy. Justice is a way of really looking at discernment, and then sort of stepping out of your ego and bringing things to light. People call it, it's a balance of power. Justice can be a balance of power,
mm.
where judgment takes away. I mean, it makes you just want to feel powerful. And so I think, which one of those would give you more joy? Justice won't make you just happy. You can get joy in justice. Okay? It has to do with what is fair or not fair. And while people might not always agree with that, there's a certain justice in finding the balance of things. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
These were hard.
yeah,
Judgment's a very reactive thing.
yeah.
And it's like a knee-jerk response. It's gonna put you in jail. It is
Mm.
not gonna put you in joy.
And the funny thing is, what I decided to do, I took the two word, and I grouped, actually. I did also group justice and judgment. But what I grouped it under my heading, because I had, are you in joy or in jail? See,
Right.
my acronym for jail is just another inconvenience in life. Yeah,
I like that.
just another inconvenience in life. See, right now, are we happy about our situation, or do we feel trapped? Do we feel like we're in jail? It's just an inconvenience, because think about it. Imagine the people who are physically in jail and do not have the option of social distancing, and or not being in their surroundings. so there's a blessing that we get to count. And
That's right.
so
That's
sometimes
right.
you just have to, if this is just an inconvenience, more so than a problem. So here's what I had written down. So, but first let me, so therefore I take the word judgment. First of all, the word judgment is actually a freeing word. Even as we talk about jail, judgment is a freeing word because you can spell it two ways. You can spell it with or without the E. Yeah, and it's acceptable. And so, in fact, Planet Fitness, their slogan is no judgment or
Right.
something,
No judgment. That's
and they
right.
spell it without the E. But if you go to your dictionary, you can spell it either way, and it's acceptable in the English language. So I say let's take the E and make the E for these days empathy, and let's really recognize that empathy is a tough emotion to hold on to and then to practice all day. You know,
Mm-hmm.
it's very hard, depending upon what's going on in your moment, not in your day, but in your moment. You'll misread what someone else's challenge is because they don't seem to know what you're going through. So empathy is hard to keep that going all day. And so you want to forgive yourself when you can't do it. And in fact, my scriptural reference today is not from the Bible, but from my walls. Okay, watch this. Let me see if I can do this now. You can see the picture. Everybody knows that little saying about the poem Footprints, where they say, you know, Jesus was, the Lord said, I was carrying you. So in the background behind me, you see that picture about footprints where the Lord is carrying the guy. But I've got a sister picture for that here in my dining room as well. And the difference is on the sister picture, he's carrying a mother and a child.
Oh,
All right.
I
And
love
now
that. And it's
in
got a rainbow.
it's got the rainbow, it's got Deb's rainbow. And look to the right of that rainbow. You see the demon in the clouds?
Sorta, yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You can
It's
see,
a
yeah,
little
see.
hard, but
So
yeah.
there's a demon in the clouds. But here's what I like about contrasting these two pictures. In this picture, as you can see, I'm going to go backwards with this. The Lord is walking out of the storm. The
Oh.
storm is behind him, and he's walking toward the rainbow. In the other one, and the one that we traditionally know about footprints, look what he's doing. He's walking into the storm.
Oh, that is cool.
So, so that's my scriptural reference today. Is that, you know, the you know, joy, because my other joy is not just one you, but Jesus owns you. And so, you know, depending on your faith, your faith is walking you into the storm, and it's going to come out of the storm with a different look of you. So it's going in with the man, it's coming out with the woman and the child. Doesn't mean that you're going to change, you know, while you go through it. You're not going to have a sex change while you're going through. But but it's just a reminder that storms are not the work of the devil. Storms are the work of God. He creates storms to let you know that I will get you through this. This too shall pass. We can't forget about that. So that's my joy and in judgment. And I've got something else for justice, but I want to save that for the end. So I'll swing it back over to you.
So, where was I? Oh, I was talking about the two. I do. So, I think you're going to have to ask me a question because I just went like not enough breadcrumbs. What's the question?
Oh,
The question
what's your other
is,
two words?
oh, well, I was using this. So the other two words are journey and jealous.
Okay.
You just gave a great example of journey, you know, and journey is there's storms, there's rainbows, there's all of it. God is all of it. And, you know, I don't have the acronym like you, but, you know, life to me is a journey.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes I stumble and fall, and that's part of it, you know. And sometimes I think I am just walking just perfect, you know. And then depending if I'm in joy, I am walking just perfect. If I go to jail, I am once again on the ground with a bloody toe. It's just, that's how it is. And jealous is a very interesting word. I mean,
Yeah.
one of the reasons why my husband loved me so much is I rarely get jealous. I'm like, because it's an abundant universe. Why? Where's your people come from a sense of lack.
Hmm.
And when they do, they get jealous. Now, occasionally I'm like, oh, why can't I do that? Well, do you really want to? That's the first question. And the second question is, if you want to,
Why don't
go ahead. What's holding you
Yeah,
back?
yeah.
You know,
What's
I'm,
all?
I'm known in my circles as being a risk taker compared to some of my other friends. And then there's people that go to me, I want to do what you're doing. And I tell them, and I get right up in their face like this, and I go, start your therapy now. Sorry, don't spit on the computer. And you know, and I think about that. There is no reason to be jealous. It is an abundant universe. Now, you might say, well, why isn't that abundance coming to me? Did you really want that kind of abundance? Then be quiet. You don't have to. Don't say I'm jealous. Now, I will say occasionally to someone like they're taking a trip or whatever, I'll say as a joke, be still my covetous heart. But they know I'm joking, which is another J word. And so, you know, that's where it's at. It is an abundant universe. There is no need to be jealous 2 times. I mean,
Mm.
2 different people came up with jealous. So there you go.
And and my thoughts on that connected right to that as well, because I know I talked about in another broadcast about your tone right now is very important. Your tone is so important in your communication. And so when you said, because what'd you say about the when they were going on a trip? What was that saying you just
Oh,
used?
be still my covetous
Be
heart.
still. Yeah. See how you say that
That's right. That's
changes
right.
it from being a joke or being jealous.
Right. And I'm not jealous. I want them to know I'm a little wistful and that I'm joking. So
Hmm.
that's why, and I might do a little flutter like this.
Hmm.
So my whole body language, you did that. You were talking. I know, I watched that talk about, what's in your tone
Hmm.
for for importing with an I, importing information, because it's all about the tone.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah,
Yeah.
go ahead.
Yeah, and because in fact, the way I and what my example for tone, but I like that because now we've got two examples. Because my example for tone was in my word joy. The reason I say what I say with joy is that I always say to people, JOY, just one you. So when someone says to you, only you would come up with that. Well, that means that without you, that would not have happened. So if someone says it in a nice way, that's why I say you have to do what you're supposed to do. And so
Right.
when someone says only you would come up with that and they laugh and smile, that's beautiful. But then the jealous person, only you would come up with that.
Oh
See?
yeah.
Yeah,
Oh
yeah,
yeah.
see, yeah. So watch your tone right now in your home. As as we get into what is this week 3 or who's lost, everybody's lost count, but as we get into these consecutive days with spending with your family versus spending time in school and coming home or at work and coming home, we had now that you're spending that quality time, because it is quality now being added to quantity. And
That
so
absolutely.
yeah, so so your tone, because we already take our family for granted anyway. The way we speak to our family members, I always liken it and laugh about how, say, if someone is invited to dinner and they say, "Oh, would you like some more butter? Would you pass me the peas?" Well, it's the family, "Hey, you done with that yet? How much you gonna eat? Don't you know other people gotta eat?" You know. And it's all out of love. Nobody's upset at all. If someone else is sitting there watching, whoa, they don't like each other. It's like, no, that's how we talk to one another. So, so it's so important to watch your tone right now. And then for journey, I have that, life is the ultimate journey, especially when you learn that it's not a journey, but when you learn that it is a journey and not a destination. See, life is not,
Absolutely.
yeah, it's not a definite, and that's why I created the Ac-Firmation Life, LIFE, lessons intended for everyone, to remind us to just collect the lessons and then pace ourselves to where they make sense to us individually so that they can make sense to our collective surroundings. Okay, and that doesn't mean that you have to settle for your surroundings. See, I'm not saying, oh well, oh hey, this is the way it is for you, too bad. No, what you do is you pace yourself and you say, well, you know what, I either want to maintain my surroundings or I want to upgrade my surroundings. But you have to take your time and get the lessons so that you can make another good choice, because we make a lot of good choices. We just don't spend the time giving ourselves credit for the good choices because we get focused on the bad ones.
Sporty, there's that woman, what's her name? Marie Kondo or something. She asked, "Does this give you joy?"
Okay.
And so, you're supposed to ask each thing in your surroundings, "Does this give me joy?"
Mm,
And you know, sometimes it takes sitting in chaos to go, I think I want some joy. Well, how are you going to get there? You're going to start your journey from wherever you are, and
mm,
you're going to move forward or move backwards to get a bigger perspective. You don't get better perspective from moving closer in, it's from moving further out. And that's part of the journey. So the journey isn't from one end to another. It's three-dimensional. I mean, you got to move back and move forward, not just from here to here. So all those things go together.
yeah, and and a lot of times people, right now we have to remember that forward is not as obvious as it used to be.
Mhm.
Because right now some people may feel, well, my life is stuck. I'm not going to be called back into work because my employer is going to find out that they don't really need me 5 days a week because they can, if they've got the technology. Well, this is where you get to be creative and say and create a new system so you can say to your employer, hey, based on what just happened, I see how I can be just as valuable 3 days a week than five, because that's going to do what? That's going to save the company money because they need to now replenish, and because that's what they're looking to cut anyway, is people are going to be costing the money. So we say, look, I can save you money. And then meanwhile, I've only got 3 days now. So that's what you got to realize. You've got 3 days worth of expenses that you need to cover instead of five. You don't need to go to the cleaners with five different outfits. You've only got three. So it's really slowing down and taking all of these things into account and really looking for the positive.
Mhm. That's
Yeah,
absolutely,
yeah,
absolutely.
yeah. And that's why I say it's that thing about jail. Is it just another inconvenience of life? It's just an inconvenience. Yeah.
And even when you're saying inconvenience, I mean, some people might have um, a more negative connotation of jail, and
Hmm.
I mean to be respectful of that, and I understand that. However, sometimes jail is of our own making,
Hmm.
and
Yes.
we put up the bars,
Hmm.
and then someone will say to whoever, well, you did this to me, you are this to me. And everything that you're doing, Sporty, is about people finding a new perspective on how to look out from the bars and even unlock the doors with their mind.
Ooh, great.
And that is what you're doing. And
That's
with the
what we're
word joy,
doing. Yes.
yes, and you're unlocking that which keeps your heart in jail.
Mm.
And, you know, and the only place really joy is felt, as I was reading, has to do with the soul and feeling it in your heart. Very different than happy. Happy is like, I will tell you, dark chocolate ice cream bars make me happy. However, cooking a
Yes.
whole meal for my family and giving and watching their faces of appreciation, or even when before they put the food in their mouth and I go, how is it? And
Hmm.
so, you know, that gives me joy.
Yeah.
Playing with my grandchildren give me joy.
Yeah.
That's a lot different than happy.
Yeah.
Happy is, you know, joy is an inner soulful feeling. And if you put yourself in jail, you're not going to feel joy.
Mm.
Now, some people, when they are in actual jail, have learned to have moments of joy,
Joy. Yes.
and they can look at things differently.
Hmm.
Do they don't like their surroundings. However, just like people in jail who have all of their rights stripped away,
Hmm.
how are you going to find a little bit of joy
Hmm.
when your choices are taken? One of the best, it was, I don't know if he was really liked it, but I liked the movie, The Birdman of Alcatraz.
Hmm.
If you remember, he was able to find just a tiny bit of joy in
Taking care of the
jail.
birds. Yeah.
Joy is just letting a little bit more light come in.
Hmm.
And when you let the light come in, it also goes out. And that energy has the power to heal. So that's just me. No, that's just only me. That would be Jam.
And then
Sorry.
you just gave me another acronym for jail. Just allow internal light. Yeah, and then you can you can set yourself free. I actually even got the idea of making the title Joy or Jail because I saw a post on Facebook about a guy who said that he was in solitary confinement from I think maybe his teens through his late 20s, double digit years. And he talked about how the mindset he had to create to
That's
deal
right.
with confinement. Not he was not just in jail in the general population. He was in
Right.
solitary confinement. And so he just like we have to do in life, he set short-term goals. He apportioned his day of a part for reading, a part for writing, and he kept his schedule and allowed himself to be free mentally. Because this guy is I'm pretty sure he's out of jail now. Like I said, I just saw a clip and I was like, you know what? I want to put that in the message, because some people are, and that's why what made me think about the inconvenience thing, because, some people are, oh, well, I'm trapped with my family. And that's what this guy was saying. He said, hey, you got a family that you can be trapped with, but more importantly, you're not stuck with your family. You're safe with your family.
Yes. And I want to add to that because I used to work and volunteer with guys that had just come out of jail. It was a men's transitional and homeless shelter.
Hmm.
So, and one of the things I realized, just because you got out of jail didn't mean you were happy. And I mean, working in the grief field that I do, when and you can even see it starting now as more places open up, there's people that say, I'm not going out because now it's safer in the home.
Hmm.
And so jail, just because you get let out of jail, doesn't mean it feels good. You have to journey what is going to be another new normal.
Hmm.
You're going to have to find joy again in that confusion. So first we had to find joy when we felt like we were in jail, meaning confined. And now we're getting used to it. And when the time comes that we start acclimating back to society,
Yeah,
this is no different. I mean, yes, it is different, but it's there's still many similar qualities
sure.
when we have to go back out from what we have now said is confinement or jail.
Oh yeah, because I mean, a storm is a storm, and so, and precautions are precautions. Think about it. When someone gets sick, the first person that gets sick, they got sick because of they were doing their regular thing, and then the sickness or the disease got them. So now, and meanwhile, this person may have been taking medicine, taking vitamins. They may have been exercising, and then it happened. So if that happens when things were, safe, how can you think that, okay, May 1st, the country's open again, May 2nd, let's get out and do everything we want to do? No, people are still going to say, well, you know what, when somebody sneezes, they're still going to do this. You know, you're getting some new things, and that's why I call it the now normal. You're getting some new habits that you are going to incorporate in your life, and just like you say, using that analogy, so imagine someone who comes out of jail. They're not going to instantly just go and start, doing the exact same things that may have gotten them put into jail, depending on how they've rehabilitated or what they want to do with their life. They're going to either decide, I'm going to go back to hanging out with the people who I was hanging out with and taking that risk, or they're going to decide I'm not. Either way, whichever choice they make, they're not going to get to do it full steam ahead.
Mm-mm.
Yeah, they still, so, well, like, I'm going to close out. You got some closing words? 'Cause, before I hit this poem?
Um, yeah, just don't be in jail. Don't be so quick to judge because, that's not discernment. That's not using your wisdom. And enjoy. No need to be jealous. It's an abundant universe. And, Justice League, fight for what's right and wrong. There you go. I'm
And
done.
and see, justice works fine, because what I decided to close with is an original poem that I wrote back in the late 1900s, called "The Just Us System." And I actually wrote it as a tribute to a friend of mine and her group of female attorneys who they met on an annual basis to recharge one another. So I created the poem for her. So this is a combination, tribute to the lawyers, but well, a super combination to lawyers, to female lawyers, and to women. And you also see that there's a mixture in there to anyone who feels that they have been wrongly, unfairly judged. Okay, so that's why it's called the Just Us system. And oh, by the way, I wrote it through. I like to challenge myself with my poetry, and what I did was I wrote this through the eyes of a woman rather than a man. And I checked with her, and she said she liked it. So yeah, so this is written through the eyes of a woman rather than through the eyes of man. The Just Us system. Have we got that much imagination or fear of us living in a world of equals? A world that affords you and I a level view of each playing field. No sudden turns, hidden agendas, coded quotas, or twists of fate. Just you and I, we, the people upon whose backs this great country was nurtured. We, the very people who give birth and support to mankind, embellishing its frailties. We, visionaries, spirited women, and networlders who get down to business above and beyond the nuts and bolts of he said, she said gender gaps to support one another. Have we got that much imagination or fear of us living in a world of equals? Oh, but what fun we'd have. Bud Light, ball games, and beer bellies. One cocktail dress that requires only that we change the bow tie. Locker room interviews from the waist up on a day where you did so well because you focused on playing through cramps. We, the people whom God made to bring balance into this world. Pinching butts, begging, believing, honey, you were great, being crowned the queen of machismo, my sisters, I think that I can wait. Wait for God's truth to unfold, to understand that inequality is no more than a word. For your 100% is not my 100%, just like an alligator is not a bird. And though I'd rather fly than lurk underwater, I'm no better because I made it up here. Us in a just system means everyone, and it starts with those who care. And not only do we have that kind of imagination, it's something we don't fear. Justice and
Yay.
equality is something that we cannot be afraid of. I always say that more people are afraid of success than they are of failure. Because see, when you fail, the pity party shows up to tell you why the system didn't work for you. You were the wrong sex, the wrong height, the wrong color, the wrong education, from the wrong neighborhood. See, and then we say, yeah, yeah, and we feel justified in our failure. But when we succeed, now this is that jealous. This is the double the jealous. Now the people say, oh, oh, you were lucky. That'll never happen again. Uh, you must have kissed somebody's butt. You know, and they minimize our success. And in the
Mhm.
process, there's where you see the kids dumbing themselves down in school. That still happens in adult life, where they say, well, let me not say anything because I'm okay with what just happened, but everybody else seems to be pissed off. So I guess I better just sit here and keep my mouth shut. It's people are afraid to succeed because everybody wants to minimize your success and highlight your failure. This is not a time for you to minimize your success. This is a time for you to highlight your success. And that's what you want to make sure that you do. So whether you're staying in home, whether you're staying away from people, whatever you're doing, it's okay, and you're going to trip up. You're still going to make mistakes. That's part of the deal. You've never been here before. This is, life is not dress rehearsal. It's a one-time deal. And so all the things that we do, all the mistakes we make in life are part of our deal, of our journey. And a journey is individual. So on your journey, recognize that you're going to be taking a lot of people with you. And who are they? You've heard me say this before. They're your messengers. And have chosen you as a messenger. So choose your messengers carefully because you will be taking that message with you somewhere. On Friday, our message will be with the letter H-I-J-K. So if
Oh, and I'm keen on that.
you,
I looked that up. I did that. I was waiting to sneak that in.
and I'm glad you did, because that's another thing I want to remind people. This broadcast, I'm doing it to inspire people and et cetera. And I didn't just create it based on the pandemic. This is something Glue Wednesday has been going on for like 2 or 3 years. But it's also an opportunity, especially with this alphabet series, to show people how they can improve and increase their literacy skills, thinking of the letter and letting those words work for you. That's something that can increase your self-esteem and make you feel good about what you do, and being creative, which can also be spelled with a K. So so
You're
Friday,
killing. Wait, you're killing it, Sporty. You're killing it.
you're killing it, King. But we'll have the letter K. If you like a word that begins with the letter K in Friday's message, just drop it in the thread and I'll find a way to get it in. I know that I will be full of joy if I can co-author the message through you, allowing you to be king for a day, or at least for the message. Remember, glue, Glue, God's love undoes everything. And thank you to my guest, Deborah Joy Hart, my good friend and buddy. And I'll see you all again. God bless you.
Thanks, Sporty.
You're
Thanks
welcome.
for having me.
Thank you for coming. All right. Oops. And